call to order.
Mrs. Geiger.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards. Mr. Ruiz. Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Ms. Vedder.
Here. Oh, no, that's not. Okay, Carol and Steve, you are on. You're gonna have the monthly report.
It's a short report this month on NIPA and the potential for using NIPA financing for the HVAC replacement at the government center. We had a preliminary meeting. Ed has circulated the NIPA sample contract information to the county attorney. I believe everyone has come back with no objections to looking into moving forward with that. Stephen, maybe you want to talk a little bit about what the next steps will be?
Yes, the next steps for NIPA is presenting the project and the concept to the at the Public Works Committee meeting, and getting the approval of Public Works Committee, and then we'll bring in Ravi Shankar, who is the representative from NIPA for this region, and Ravi will explain to the board what the NIPA program is, what it offers, how it is funded, and how the county can benefit from it in terms of doing any kind of energy retrofit work that we need for our buildings. But our focus at this point in time is on the HVAC units on this building. And if the county then does agree that that would be a good way to proceed, NIPA would do a feasibility study. They will assess the goals of the county for this building and the HVAC. They will do a thorough study of the building, not just a walkthrough, and then they will develop a plan, a retrofit plan, and then present it back to the county. If the county approves of that plan, then and gives NIPA the go-ahead, then they will start to do the design phase, where they will actually design the project. Then once that design is approved by the county, they will they act as the contractor as well, the procurement officer and the contractor. So they will procure, they'll develop a set of bids or bid specs. They'll bring the bids in, they will review them with the county. Every step of the way, everything is done with the approval of the county. Nothing goes forward without approval of the county. So the county really does have control over the project. And if the project does come to fruition, the work is done. Once it's completed and signed off on, that is when the county starts to do the repayment. This is not a grant, it is a loan, and the program is designed to pay for itself through the savings of energy. So instead of paying to our oil supplier what we would save in oil, what we save in oil, we would be paying to NIPA. What we save in electricity from the retrofit, rather than paying our electric supplier, we would be paying NIPA. And they will only consider projects that are cash flow positive. So that'll be presented then in September's or October's Public Works meeting. I'm not sure which one is scheduled that for.
I do not believe September, so I'm guessing October. Because I think our agenda already has been a while ago.
Okay, so October.
So we, DPW and Grants and Steve and I are going to meet on September 23rd to talk about.
Yeah, if I
how
could
to
just
move forward.
say, just to explain it a little bit, these are the HVAC, this system here, it's replacing this.
Yes.
And the project came out of meetings that we had with DPW
This is
to
one
try to
of-
focus on one of the county priorities.
This is their top priority, I think, Mr. Duke. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a really serious
Yeah,
situation.
and
that
looking
we
at
need
our
to-
capital plan, absolutely. I mean, I don't think any of us were opposed to all the fabulous projects that they had originally proposed, but it's kind of like, you know, you have your needs versus your wants, and sometimes you have to address your needs before your wants.
So we had some really good conversations, discussion and meetings, and I think, you know, this is really honing in on a county priority and the projected cost being repaid by the energy savings, I think. Now, I just had a question as far as, you know, like Steve was saying, if the county decides to move forward, at any point, if the county decides that there's something that came up that wasn't working, then is there a commitment to move forward to, you know what I'm saying? Oops,
I can
sorry,
answer
Annie.
that.
That's okay.
If you don't mind, I'll answer that.
Oh, sure.
The way it was explained to us, and I think what the presentation in the DPW committee would show you, is that because it's a complete package, once you get to a certain stage in the engineering, there's no turning back. So there
Okay.
has to be a commitment, there would be signed documents, that type of stuff, and then you would basically be defaulting on your contract.
But what Steve had said, they won't proceed if they don't project the energy
Right,
savings.
right.
So
they'll
that's.
do an initial feasibility
right.
study, but then once they get into their full-scale engineering, I mean, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars, they're not gonna do that and have us
Mhm.
go, oh, wait. So, yeah, there's definitely a commitment, but there is a progression to
Now, what
that
if there were
commitment.
overruns that went over the projected savings?
They have a built-in, percentage for overruns.
Okay,
There's
so
always a
they're,
contingency in a construction
they're-
project, so.
Mhm.
okay, so they're overestimating, like, to fit it in, the,
They're not overestimating to fit it in. They will come in with some pretty hard costs on what the retrofit will be.
but there's leeway, there's.
There is some leeway,
Okay.
which they look at as the overrun.
Well, and they're a power authority, I mean, they've done this before, this isn't, you know, they're not
Exactly,
just some
right.
engineering company we're hiring out of the blue, somewhere that may or may not have great experience, cause oh, we got the lowest bidder.
Mhm.
This is, you know, they would be running this project full scale, we wouldn't do the bidding, we would, as long as they're following proper procurement, of course, but
Mhm.
they would be responsible, you know, soup to nuts, essentially.
These are case studies I'll pass around, but I do need them back. It's just
From the power authority?
From the power authority, yes.
And these are great questions to have
Yes.
for their presentation as well, so I mean, you know,
Yes.
you don't have to take my word for it, you can ask them.
Yeah, no, it is a great thing to make sure that, you know, when they are presenting, that's really well.
You had said that it's a loan, it's not a grant. So as a loan, I'm sure that there's an interest rate. Do we,
Right now, it is 0.89%.
so it's not even 8%?
No,
It's
it's
not
Point
even
zero.
a single, it's
It's
not even
not even
1%?
1%.
Okay, is that yearly?
Pretty good, yeah.
How-
You probably won't get that much in interest on your savings account, but,
Okay.
and they also do, they
And
do.
it's a flat rate, it's not a balloon rate.
Correct, correct.
I get worried about these
Yeah,
things,
no,
that can
it's-
change to 8% if you didn't pay.
No, that's all spelled down. One of the things that I really found compelling about NIPA is that, all of that is really fleshed out in, you know, before
Yeah,
you're
they're
signing.
about transparency.
Yeah,
I
they're very
would say-
transparent.
Okay.
Yeah, it
The
looks-
oth-
these
the other
look like-
questions that I had, I'm sorry, had to do with, and I understand what it is, and I think Carol and I had asked you last time that we met.
Mhm.
That's the beginning plan, fix that.
Mhm.
We possibly would be looking at making it also the surrounding part of the roof,
Mhm.
for lack of better terminology, deal with solar energy,
Mhm.
that we could not just fix what we have, but potentially it would be fitted in such a way that we could use the sun to decrease our fuel costs
Mhm. We'd be
down the
keeping
line.
keeping that option open, yeah. for the-
Cause that's what I'm looking at right here,
Mhm.
That would
because you're,
definitely take a structural engineer's analysis
Mhm.
though, because I don't know that this building was necessarily designed for the load ratings of having
It'd
that on the roof.
have to be
So
ballasted,
we
but-
are not necessarily looking at it being a solar array up there.
I don't think we're even
This
there
project
yet.
is for
But I
energy
mean, when we're
efficiency.
looking at it as a project, are we incorporating the two ideas? Because if it's gonna be too heavy to hold,
I think
then we
that-
can't do that.
Kitty, that's an excellent concern, and I think that, the way that would be best addressed, and Kristen, let me know if you think otherwise, they are going to do an initial evaluation of the building. So, they say that the customer, the county, gives its projected goals. Do we want HVAC upfit or retrofit? And do we wanna maybe put solar panels up there, which you know, would need to be a ballasted system because we don't wanna put penetrations in the roof that we don't need to. At the walkthrough, the study, they can do the evaluation of the roof to see what type of panels could be placed on there, if any, and whether or not there would need to be an additional reinforcement of the roof. So that could all be rolled into the initial evaluation.
So we didn't get to that point yet where we would include a potential for solar in the future?
No, because that's not in the capital budget or the capital plan. And when Kristen and Carol and I were looking at that earlier on, we did see that, you know, the HVAC is in the capital plan for 13, 14, 15, so we thought that would be the best use of, you know.
Okay, so we can have a subsequent discussion about that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's important to,
Absolutely.
if they're coming to
Absolutely right.
look,
If you look at that, they're doing solar
Mhm.
rooftops as well.
And I think
right,
that-
but if our roof doesn't have the ability to hold the weight, doesn't
Yeah.
matter if they can do it.
So we have to have a discussion about that as
And
well.
Katie, I think that they would consider that, absolutely, because that's their whole point, is they're trying to get the best return on investment for what they're doing. So if having solar be a component of that, that's something that they would advise would be, you know, so then that's when the legislature would then need to make that decision, okay? So yes, maybe they would decide that no, they can't do anything with this building because the way it's done in the HVAC won't work and actually get us what we want back and we won't be able to pay for the loan. Then it's, you know, dead in the
Okay.
water. We don't know that until we start the process. I mean, having one guy come and give a presentation isn't gonna answer those questions.
Okay.
But it's good to keep, you know, kind of a short list of what you're thinking of, so. I think it's been noted that that's something we wanna look at.
So what is the
Okay.
time frame on that presentation?
I believe that, because our stuff was already in for September, I believe that it was, I think Ed was hoping for October.
Okay.
I can't speak for him, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, October sounds like the date or the month at least.
The lighting retrofit, I apologize, there's a typo throughout this section, which is, I've called this company Windworks, it's Windwater is the name of it. I got my computer programs and my lighting companies mixed up. They're based in Carmel, New York. The person we've been dealing with there is Nancy Cozine, who's the former mayor of Poughkeepsie, and is now working with them to promote LED lighting. So, we have provided them with some information. They're going to provide a preliminary study for what they might be able to do in terms of both indoor and outdoor lighting here at the government center.
And
So
we made
keep you
certain
posted.
that the guidelines that Kathy Jones recommended were given to them. They will not be doing a study using any kind of proprietary lighting fixture. It will be what kind of cost savings and energy savings could the county realize if our fluorescent, compact fluorescent, and incandescent light bulbs were replaced with light-emitting diode lighting fixtures. So it will be an across-the-board, almost of a prospectus as opposed to a proposal.
Okay.
Just saying what could happen and these are the kind of savings that could be realized.
Steve, are you including that in the disposal cost of something that's new?
They will include that.
Okay,
yes.
good. Because that becomes an added cost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Steve, you said inside and outside?
We have, yes, parking lot lights.
So are
Okay.
we trying to make sure that they shine down and don't shine up to ruin the night sky?
That would be the choice.
What
We could
have
stack
is
them
the
together.
dark sky
Yeah.
compliance doesn't
That's
work.
what we
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
So-
night sky or dark sky compliancy. Most LED outdoor lighting is night sky or dark sky compliance.
And once the, you know, the facts and figures were collected, then it would be a matter of, if we moved ahead with that, lighting project, then it would be replacing as needed, right? One,
Yes.
yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
And also, Kitty, to go back to NIPA, you asked if it was grant versus loan. NIPA does explore all possibilities of NYSERDA funding to coordinate with their projects as well. So.
Oh, good, so we get a low-cost
Yeah.
loan of 0.89 and then we,
And there would
Put
be.
grant with it.
Right,
We'll
exactly.
experiment with grant money.
Nice.
Exactly, yes, yes.
So I'll finish up quickly with the Sullivan County Climate Action Plan. Josh has sent out that memorandum to all departments. We are trying to schedule something with public health. That will be one of our first meetings, and also with procurement, DPW and planning, obviously ongoing. The next couple of points are really for discussion, I think, later in today's meeting. The deadlines are contingent on the contract extension that we're going to discuss, but we are looking to move forward with the county goals and measures portion of the plan to get that on paper and make sure that we're addressing DPW's priorities and concerns as we do that. That will really be the heart of the plan. And I just wanted to mention that Ninon Hutchinson, who was on our advisory board, is retiring. She is moving upstate to the Watertown area. That's a great loss to the advisory board because she's been a great spirit and presence on the board. We're going to be looking for someone else from the faith community to participate on that board. I think it's really important to have someone with that perspective, and also because that's going to be an important networking out into the community for the planning. So if anybody has any suggestions for someone to take Ninon's place, we're very happy to hear from you.
So you mean like houses of worship in the communities
Yeah.
to do
Mhm.
energy
To
retrofits
participate,
and
well, to participate on the advisory board for the
Okay.
climate action
Mhm.
plan. And Steve and I are gonna be attending a day-long conference this Friday, at Vassar. It's presented by, Cornell Cooperative Extension of Dutchess County, and that is about the Climate Smart Communities program. Some of the topics are renewable energy and community revitalization, state policy initiatives, microgrids, smart growth, hazard mitigation, all relating to climate. So this is very much information that will be useful to us in formulating the climate action.
Okay, any questions for Carol and Steve? Thank you very much. Okay, Jill will give us an ag report.
We are still in discussions with Cornell over the ag planner position, to come up with the memorandum of agreement. But they have started their process for, getting the position posted. So they'll have a link to, the website where you can apply, and then we can notify the people who applied for the ag planner position through the county how to apply through Fort Cornell. And so hopefully, that will continue moving forward, and we'll get someone on board. The dairy processing RBAG is moving forward. The company is still looking at confirming, their site. So both the lease for the site and the lease for our agreement, are both being vetted by his attorney. So hopefully that'll move forward quickly, once that's approved. The Sullivan County Farmland Protection Planning Grant that we received from Ag and Markets, we did interview 3 potential planning consultants, and you will actually have on your Government Services Committee a resolution to enter into contract with one of them, Environmental Planning and Associates, which was who is Nan Stolzenberg and Don Meltz, who did the 4 town plans a couple years ago for Calhoun, Delaware, Liberty, and Bethel. So the committee thought she presented the best, and will have a good knowledge of the county and come up with a good plan. So we're optimistic that we will move that forward quickly once that resolution passes. We are, to my knowledge, done with our ag district reviews. We've sent everything up to Ag and Market, so they just have to approve, and then we will just complete that process once we hear back from them. But they have everything they need, so they are looking into it.
If we send a letter anyway, Joe.
I'm not sure, probably, but Ron did email me and just say everything looked pretty good, so. And then also one thing that's worth noting is the REAP board. The next quarterly meeting is November 6th, and we are actively seeking, members for the board. So if anybody knows of anybody who would like to be elected to that board, it's actually an election process. They have to come here and vote. So if anybody knows of anybody that wants to serve on the REAP board, Again, we don't know if it's been, if Congress is gonna include it and, you know, continue the program, but hopefully they are. Gillibrand came down with Gibson and it looks positive, so the more we can keep a hold of that designation, the more funding that can come our way. So again, if we can fill up that board member, I think we are allowed 18, 5 I think are up for reappointment, and there's 3 vacancies, so there is an opportunity to get that board filled up.
So when would they need to apply by?
They should get that to me by the end of the month, I believe. I think that's what the press release said.
Okay.
And then, we can get that on the election. And otherwise, that's about it, unless anybody has questions.
Any questions for Jill? Thank you. And DPW, Kristen, do you have anything else that you wanna?
Not really. I mean, honestly, I was a little bit swamped with parks, so I think I'll be resuming my meetings with Carol and Steve shortly. But otherwise, yeah, we've just been working on what we've already discussed.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, planning, OSC collaboration, priority OSC projects. This is related to the resolution that will come up. We had, was it 2 meetings, several meetings with Office of Sustainability Planning, DPW, and like we discussed before, to try to prioritize projects to move forward with. Jill maybe can explain the collaboration end of it with OSC, contributing their efforts to try to move some of these deadlines forward by the end of the year.
I was wondering if I could defer to Carol to do it, but otherwise then I could jump in just
Sure.
to say how
Mhm.
that could collaborate. Sorry.
That's
Is that
okay.
okay?
No, that's fine.
I think what happened was in the discussion, when we were trying to meet some of the deadlines, and Jill had mentioned, you know, the staffing issues, and then Carol and Steve were working on their end, and in the meetings, we kind of teamed them up together, and hoping that, you know, the legislature will, you know, support Jill and Steve working with Jill till the end of the year to try and move some of the efforts forward. So if you wanna fill
Sure.
in.
Yeah, what we've been looking for is a way to maximize the effectiveness of how Stephen and I are collaborating with planning and DPW, looking at DPW's priorities and budget pressures, and also pressures in the planning department for you know, staffing there, to sort of coordinate these efforts a little better and make sure that we're meeting everybody's needs within what we have the capacity to accomplish. So what we would like to do and what we have proposed doing was to look at an interdepartmental working group, a sustainability working group that would include planning and DPW and OSC as the major players, but also would involve grants, the emergency management, public health and community services, because of a lot of what we want to do is on their premises, and also because there's a big public health dimension to climate action planning, and the Office of Management and Budget. Purchasing might be brought in at certain points to participate in planning for that. So we would be developing attainable, fundable projects, concrete projects that we can get to grant-ready, shovel-ready status, that we know meet the needs of DPW, are compatible with what planning has in mind for the county, and that have sustainability built into them rather than as an afterthought. Then the climate action plan becomes a way to formalize those projects as the county measures part of the climate action plan. So what we had suggested to Jill was that we really double down between now and the end of 2013 to get that part of the climate action plan drafted and agreed on in its major points by DPW and planning, so that we have that part of the document and can then move forward with seeking funding for those projects. That's really the heart and guts of the climate action plan. So we're gonna be looking at energy efficiency, reducing the use of fossil fuels, doing renewable energy installations where they're feasible, looking at green purchasing policies, green cleaning policies for county facilities, materials management. There's overlap, public health, for example, and DPW, in our conversations with Bill Cutler, both talked about the need for a needle and sharps management plan. So there are things like that that are part of avoiding that pollution into the water stream. So this is gonna be a big collaborative effort among those. So we set some internal deadlines, hoping to have a first draft of that in November and a final draft by the end of December. But then we looked at, what else is on all of our plates, and we were thinking to ask for an additional day added to our contract in the last quarter of the year, to help us draft that plan, which is not really part of our current contract,
You mean day
to
per
write
week?
the plan. I'm sorry?
A
Day of the
day per
week,
week,
a day
yeah.
per week, yes,
Once
not
for a single
one
day.
extra day, yes. We just need 24 hours. So, this is a planning document. It's going to have better effect and be better for everyone if it's produced under the direction of the Division of Planning with full collaboration with DPW, and that planning has input into the content of the plan as well as helping us continue to facilitate those meetings. And there's an opportunity to integrate it into our other thinking, because we have a lot of plans that we're juggling right now. So we will take that back to the Climate Action Advisory Board. They've come up with some great suggestions, particularly in the part of the plan that deals with outreach, but this is really the part that must be done in-house for it to be
And I think,
effective.
from the discussion, and Jill can correct me if I'm wrong, we're asking for a contract modification. You have vacancies in your department currently, so the savings would come from those vacancies till the end of the year to try to accomplish the collaborated goals that Carol
Right.
spelled out.
What Carol brought to my
Under
attention.
your lead, under planning's
Right.
lead.
What Carol brought to my attention, and again, Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the climate action plan is a commitment that the legislator has said we have to do, but their contract only allows them to compile the plan and not really as much write the
Right.
plan currently as it stands. And then that would fall to planning in the subsequent year or depending on their contract. And so this was a solution of, because there are vacancies in planning, get them additional funds to amend their contract so that they can write the plan, because we don't have the staff right now to do it. And so because we do have the vacancies, there is funding available to do that. So it would kind of be a win-win for both of us.
So are there any questions for Carol, Steve, or Jill?
Do we have an estimate of what that cost would be?
$7,500.
That's what we put
That's
in
in
for
the
the
resolution.
resolution.
So we're not-
It's
okay.
one extra day for both Carol and
Mhm.
Stephen, for 1/3.
October, November, December, for the last quarter.
I think
Okay.
it's a reasonable approach.
I like it. I think it's, we were talking about collaboration, and I think communication has been excellent in the meetings I was in. And I think we were really able to kind of hone in on some priorities, and I think it was really productive.
Is that in the form of a motion?
You'd like it to be.
Resolution?
Yeah.
You're gonna,
Do you have a
Okay.
resolution?
yeah.
Mo-
right
Yeah,
there,
there's
it's
a
on the
resolution
agenda.
here, you can get a motion to.
Okay, motion.
All right.
Alan moved it.
Second? I'll second.
Cindy.
I'm for it, yeah.
All in favor? Any
Read it.
opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment. Okay, motion to adjourn?
Cindy, Alan.
Ken's not here.